hit like, and subscribe. You're watching the Marc Lamont Hill official YouTube channel.
Peace, family. It's your brother, Marc Lamont Hill. Welcome to Night School. Every night here on the Marc Lamont Hill official YouTube channel, we hold Night School, where we break down the most controversial topics, the most engaged debates, the most interesting subjects going on in the world today. And tonight is absolutely no different. We are here live and direct, talking about some of the biggest issues going on in the world. We're talking about how Gaza has not only produced so many casualties and so many victims of Israel's brutal assault, but we're talking about how the media, specifically CNN, is blaming the victims. Talking about Shannon Sharpe, who was fired by ESPN, despite the resolution of his case. That's interesting. And we're talking about Donald Trump, y'all's president, who made the decision that being gross wasn't enough. He's going to actually publicly flirt with the idea of pardoning Diddy. Pardoning Diddy. Anyway, we'll talk about it. But first, let me know where y'all writing in from. Drop in your city, drop in your state. If you're in the United States, drop in your country. And of course, drop in your name. This is a global classroom, so I want to know where everybody is. I want to know where everybody's coming from. I want to know what everybody's talking about, because I want to know what y'all on tonight. It is Wednesday. For some reason, it feels like a Thursday to me. This week feels different. I don't know why, but it feels like a different pacing this week. But anyway, Wednesday, Thursday, doesn't matter. We here. We outside. And it's been a crazy week. I don't know how to make sense of it. I don't know how to talk about it with y'all, but it is a crazy week. I love seeing people coming in. A lot of Philadelphians, of course, that's home. But I see Phoenix, Rachel, Nicole. I see Autumn coming in from Los Angeles. Of course, Adrian coming in from New York City. I see people from a lot of different places, so it's good to see the diversity. Dante, shout out to you from New Orleans. And shout out to you for appreciating the pie. If you don't check me out, if you haven't checked me out on Joe Budden Podcast, make sure you do. New episode came out today on Patreon. On YouTube, it'll be out tomorrow. And maybe a new edition of the Ian and Mark Show. Norfolk, Virginia, Richmond, Virginia. VA is well represented. Baby K coming in from People's Republic. Where's the People's Republic, y'all ask? BK all day. Vietnam, Vietnam. Anyway, y'all, so many stories to talk about. I think we should just get to it. It's important to just get to it. So we'll get to it. CNN contributor and the Dispatch editor-in-chief, Jonah Goldberg, took aim at CNN, his own network, as well as the broader media landscape, voicing sharp skepticism over how the Gaza crisis is being portrayed. He did this yesterday, speaking on a panel discussion. During this discussion, Jonah Goldberg says, he said he was going to, quote, be a skunk at the garden party, warning that many public narratives, including narratives from the media, narratives from the United Nations, and even humanitarian groups, are deeply unreliable. Goldberg acknowledged the real suffering on the ground, but argued that foreign policy driven by viral imagery often lacks the depth and the context that is necessary to properly cover the story. And moreover, it leads to, as he put it, misinformation. Anyway, I'm going to show y'all a clip of this because I want y'all to get a sense of what's happening here.
Israeli-backed humanitarian distribution effort, which has frankly led to a lot of deaths. Jonah, how are you seeing this?
Yeah, I'm just going to be a skunk at the garden party on all of this. I am deeply skeptical of pretty much every actor, mainstream media, including some people at this network. The UN is a hotbed of deceit and deception and self-dealing. UNRWA and Hamas are deeply in bed with each other. It's not entirely the fact that UNRWA is entirely run by Hamas, but it is deeply infiltrated by Hamas. Hamas is the government of Gaza. And if you read closely the coverage of this, if you read the UN statements about this, all of the responsibilities are on Israel to feed everybody. And I think Israel should do more. Some of these images are legitimately terrible. But we who spend our time in TV should have some more acknowledgement of how badly things can go awry when public policy and foreign policy are governed by images.
Can I ask a quick question then, to your point? Because Israel does not trust international aid organizations for the reasons you described,
Sure.
their belief that Hamas takes food and resources, which we have seen in the past. Do they bear responsibility for the way the humanitarian food distribution has happened, which has been by an organization that they backed?
Yeah, they obviously bear some responsibility. I don't think Israel is a perfect actor in this situation at all.
And I hear you saying everybody is a bad actor, but
Yeah.
you're bringing in the news, you're bringing in all these people.
But
And is there a
What
tipping
about
point
Hamas?
where a famine becomes something to be addressed on its own through moral questions of its own value?
Yeah, I mean, on the question of famine, as you had in the setup piece, it says the worst case scenario for famine is proceeding. The same report said there's not, in fact, famine right now. They came short of saying that. They're saying that if this scenario continues to play out, we saw a news cycle where I had to comment on stuff about how if in 48 hours Israel didn't do something, 14,000 babies
Yes.
would be killed, would die. Turned out that was a complete social media driven hoax. I think a lot of people in the media, a lot of people like Donald Trump are following these stories based upon the steady stream of images they get on social media and on TV.
So this is interesting. A lot of things happening in this clip. I'm going to focus on what I mentioned at the top of the show, but we're going to dig a little bit deeper too, right? First, it's important to know that Jonah Goldberg is criticizing the media, criticizing the UN, and criticizing Hamas over the Gaza coverage. Criticizing Hamas is easy. Everybody criticizes Hamas. You get no points for criticizing Hamas. Not here. Not because Hamas doesn't deserve to be criticized, but because it's not a bold move. It's not exactly a profile in courage in the Western media. But criticizing the United Nations, obviously we see UN Security Council resolutions being vetoed all the time, etc. Cool. But criticizing the media, particularly the Western media, particularly his own network, I think is important. I think that it's also important that, let's be honest here, Jonah Goldberg is Jonah Goldberg, right? He's respected. He's important. That's the kind of voice you want speaking out. Because if you're screaming from the cheap seats, you're either going to get ignored or you're going to get punished. But Jonah Goldberg, as CNN contributor, has a better standing. Now, myself, I'm not talking about myself here. Prominent CNN contributors have been fired for less. But I think Jonah is willing to stand up and be courageous here. And I appreciate that. Even if I don't agree with his analysis fully or a lot of it, I agree with his point here, which is that the networks have not told this properly. And there's the lack of trust. Trusting a media outlet is partly about, do they get it right? And part of it is, do they want to get it right? How much of this is bad coverage? How much of this is intentionally bad coverage? Those are the questions we got to ask. But either way, I appreciate him saying something about it. But now let's push it even further. Let's challenge it even further. And that goes for all of us. My advice to y'all who are watching this is, don't wait for CNN to get it right. Don't wait for MS or Fox to get it right. Find alternative news sources that are already getting it right. And if they're already getting it right, then you don't have to worry about this kind of stuff. Anyway, or you still have to hold them accountable. But so I don't mean to say if a network is doing a good job, that's it. But at least it's a good start. All right. Let's get on to this next story. This one fascinated me a little bit. I ain't gonna hold you. Donald Trump may be preparing to offer a presidential pardon to embattled music mogul Sean Diddy Combs, but sources say he's waiting to see what a federal judge does next. According to reporting from TMZ, Trump's White House has been in communication with Diddy's legal team about the possibility of a pardon following Diddy's recent conviction on 2 counts under the Mann Act, a rarely used federal law that involves the transportation of individuals across state lines for individual sex acts. Now, while Diddy was acquitted on the most serious charges, the Mann Act convictions, they still carry legal weight. And that's where Donald Trump just might be stepping in. Sources who are familiar with the situation say that the president is, quote, more than open. That's important. Notice, more than open to granting a pardon, but only if the judge denies Diddy's bail request. If bail is granted, Diddy reportedly plans to wait until sentencing. Or excuse me, Donald Trump, that's Freudian, I'm sure. Donald Trump reportedly plans to wait until sentencing before making any final decision. The judge's upcoming ruling could directly influence Trump's move. You see, insiders say the case has personally resonated with Donald Trump, shocker, who believes Diddy, like himself, has been unfairly targeted by the federal government. Notably, the lead prosecutor in the case, Maureen Comey, daughter of Trump nemesis James Comey, was recently fired from the Department of Justice. The possible pardon is also seen by some close to Trump as a potential diversion from the ongoing Epstein scandal, which has reemerged in headlines following unsealed court documents and, of course, the recent wave of allegations. So this is interesting for a lot of reasons. I'm going to show y'all something right now because I want y'all to see something right now. It's a time capsule. Look at it. Look at this time capsule. I want y'all to look at this. There's something here. Diddy and Trump have a long history. They both were staples of the New York elite scene in the 90s and the early 2000s. Donald Trump even referred to Diddy as a good friend during a 2012 episode of The Apprentice. Now, Donald Trump ain't got no friends, so I don't buy into that. I don't think him and Diddy are besties, but I think they're cool enough, and it wouldn't shock me if they've done some dirt together. It wouldn't shock me if they hadn't. I have no idea about their business. What I do know for certain is that Donald Trump sees himself in Diddy in terms of this narrative. Donald Trump feels like the feds are coming after him. Donald Trump also probably did half the shit that Diddy is accused of doing, even if he's found not guilty for it. And so he's like, shit, this could be me one day there, but for the grace of God, go I type logics. So there's that. As I said, he's also looking for a distraction from the Epstein trial because nobody's buying that. Even the right-wing crazies who supported Trump, the Pizzagate people, they're not supporting Trump on this, even though they supported Trump on everything else. I don't see a world where Donald Trump doesn't at least consider pardoning Diddy. And this is where a fair bail hearing is important. I think the judge says you don't get out at all and I ain't for bail. Donald Trump, like a lot of people, is going to say, wait a minute. The Mann Act is being used against Diddy in a way that has never been used. It goes back 75 years. We're seeing something different here. This feels unfair. And if I'm Donald Trump, I'm thinking this is unfair and could happen to me. Yeah, I'm just going to pardon him. Now, if he pardons Diddy, Diddy's no longer guilty of the crime. Diddy can go home immediately. It doesn't matter. He could also have commuted the sentence. He could have said, hey, if the judge gives you a year, more than a year, I'll give you a year in your home. I mean, there's lots of things that could be done. But Trump is taking a route that seems somewhat surprising, though it shouldn't be. I want to know if he does pardon Diddy, what it looks like afterward. What is Diddy's approach to the world? How does Diddy navigate our systems? Does he still encourage people to vote for Democrats? You know, who knows? Who knows? What did I miss? And then here's a story I don't love for all the reasons. Cat Williams and Monique tried to tell him. NFL Hall of Famer Shannon Sharpe is officially done at ESPN. I'll just say the sports network. The highest, greatest sports network? Maybe, I don't know. Yeah, it probably is. It's still the leader. The sports network confirmed to The Athletic that it has parted ways with Shannon Sharpe just weeks after he settled a high-profile sexual assault lawsuit filed earlier this year. Sharpe had taken a leave of absence in April after being accused of rape, harassment, and emotional abuse by a woman identified in court as Jane Doe. I will be devoting this time to my family and responding and dealing with these false and disruptive allegations set against me, Sharpe said back then. That's from the allegations back then. He had initially planned to return for the NFL season, but now that comeback is not happening. The lawsuit, which filed in Nevada, ended in a confidential settlement earlier this month. Now, Jane Doe, later revealed as Gabrielle Zuniga, claimed she had a long, turbulent relationship with Sharpe. Both sides acknowledged the relationship was consensual, but tumultuous. That's the word I kept hearing and using. Sharpe has denied all allegations and maintained his innocence throughout. Now, this decision is stunning. It's as stunning as Shannon Sharpe's fall from grace has been. He just signed a new contract with ESPN earlier this year. He expanded his appearances beyond First Take to go throughout the network. He seemed like he was in firm ground. Sharpe has also postponed his Nightcap Live tour and gone mostly quiet on his hit podcast club, Shay Shay, releasing just 2 episodes since the allegations surfaced. So your boy been laying low, but the truth is, you probably have to do more than that if you're Shannon Sharpe. You have to affirmatively go out in the world and do something in terms of getting sympathy from the media. You have to go out there and show you're a good guy. It's not enough to be a good guy at this point. You have to telegraph it. You have to make it very clear you're a good guy by showing it. It'll be interesting to see how he navigates this. Shannon Sharpe, I think, maybe thought this would fade away. I think he also thought that the allegation or the resolution of the allegation would help him, because Tony Busby, the woman's lawyer, basically said that she's agreed that it was a consensual relationship. Now, of course, all the rape culture folks are like, oh, she admits she lied. No. She said the relationship was consensual. Doesn't mean that every sex act is consensual. I'm in a consensual marriage with my wife, but that doesn't mean that I have carte blanche over her body or that she has it over mine. So a consensual relationship doesn't mean that there wasn't harm or violence or sexual assault happening at a given moment. It also doesn't mean that there is. I'm not saying Shannon Sharpe is guilty. I'm not saying Shannon Sharpe is innocent. I'm saying that the rollout and the strategy for what he's up to is severely challenged by this, and I'm not sure it had to be. But that's just me. Anyway, y'all, thank you for watching. As always, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. If you're so inclined, hit the join button and become a monthly member of the channel. I would love, what's today? Today's July 30th, family. We're at the end of the month. We got bills to pay. We got bills to pay. I would love if you all could join the channel. I would love if you all could hit the subscribe button. I would love if you all could send a super chat or a super thanks. But if you can't do any of those things, I understand. We'll starve. Nah, you just go to Cash App, PayPal, Venmo, or Zelle and drop something in. It'll help pay our bills. Help pay our employees, even the ones you don't meet. Cash App, PayPal, Venmo, or Zelle. You can drop $1. Listen to me, y'all. If you leave $1, that's okay. No one's upset. No one's hurt. If you leave $1, if you leave $1 million, we're grateful all the same. Thank you. Hit that like button, hit the subscribe button. If you have $1 or $2, send it. Our goal would be for everybody watching to send $5. If everybody watching sends $5, we will be in excellent shape. But I know it's not going to happen. But anyway, y'all, my mic went out for a second. But it's Zelle, Venmo, PayPal, Cash App. Please make a donation if you can. If not, keep on reading, keep on studying, keep on sharing the work, because that's what night school is all about. Peace.